rituals. So they study the actual cities because of certain caliber, a certain brand of black people in those particular cities. And they monitor these particular things. Fortunately, the last 4 or 5 years, black people have gone to a certain savage level, and that's good. I'll tell you what I'm talking about here. When the Arabs was going across Africa, and, you know, right after Muhammad, they went across Africa, and if you didn't submit to Islam, they cut your head off and you died. So they basically was, you know, the whole top part of Africa, they basically was, you know, was wiping out traditional cultures and converting them into Islam. The Dogon tribe of Mali reverted into this savage-like behavior. It was a part of a decoy. You know, for some, you know, I don't know, there's like a bunch of crazy people. And so when the Arabs got there, the Arabs was like, these people are so savage and so crazy, they don't deserve Islam. Thus they left them alone, thus preserved the culture. You see what I'm saying? That's what's happening with black people. As far as our behavior, as far as our status, we are at the lowest level, and that is divine, because that is the decoy. That means they're not worried about you now, they're worried about the Mexicans. Immigration and all this now, because they let you go. You see, they're not worried about you because they say that his arrogance or his confidence will be his undoing. You see what I'm saying? So he's infallible now. So do me a favor, just like they tell you on the planes, cut the cell phones off. You see what I'm saying? You might well cut them on off. You know, we in this digital age now and cellular age. Cut your cell phones off. You don't want to mess up the video for the people in Atlanta, Chicago, or whatever, and they be talking shit. Who's that nigga that, you know? So we got to tell you like they do, cut the cell phones off. But anyway, getting into this, it looks hopeless with black people, and that's a part of the design. We're going to go into some things today. We're going to go into some stuff, and it's interesting here. I'm studying Hemmitt, I did the Hemmitt thing all of the 90s. Hell, I'm in China now. Because we got to understand this thing that our information is universal. It's, so to just focus on one continental aspect or one part of a continent, you miss the whole boat. You see what I'm saying? I'm in Tibet. All of that is black culture. You see, but I'm sitting down at the bus stop back in September, and I look down and there's somebody left a Bible there. And I guess the spirit was like saying, well, there's some stuff in there you need to go in and retrieve. And I opened the Bible up and it went to Moab. And then I saw a story on Turner Classic Movies, the story of Ruth. All of this stuff is nothing but, no matter these white faces or whatever, we did live in other lands and we were a universal people. And these stories of our people, that's all over the earth. So, there was one guy that was at the Melanin Conference back in 2001. Some African brother wrote a book. He had gone and he had traced all these little, they got all these Jacobites, Moabites, all these names in the Bible. And he said, well, let me see if this stuff is lies. And he went to the area where they were supposedly had. He said he found all kind of black people there under those names. So our people are all over the thing. And so at this particular time, you can't throw out nothing. I'm like, well, look at this Bible. And I opened it up and it said Moabite. And I said, well, it's going to tell me something that I'm going to have to go in here and get. I had already understood that back in 1998 that your Old Testament is nothing but a retranslation of Hermetic texts, or the Tahuti text, or the 29,000 papyrus, 30,000 papyrus rolls of Tahuti. And basically, there was no exclusive people. All these people basically just edited pieces of these libraries from Kemet and stuff. So, the Old Testament, if you understand it in the way it is, it's an authentic piece, but it's coming from some Tahuti stuff. You see what I'm saying? Now, in order to understand that, you like to say, you got an Old Testament and New Testament that's this thick. And yet the Jews got an Old Testament. Is it really? That's perpetrating the fraud. Got a 5 books of Moses. The Old Testament is this big. Now wait a minute, now hold on. You got 2 books that's this big, and they got a book called the Tanakh. You can get them right there in Barnes and Nobles and Borders, the Tanakh. It's pronounced T-A-K-A-N-A, Tanakh. It's pronounced Takana in the English with the way it looks, but it's pronounced Tanakh. And it's an Old Testament that's this thick. And I was able to get this Tanakh, and I was seeing all these Egyptian words up in there. I saw Aset up in there. I saw Isis up in there. I saw Amun-Ra. I saw about 5 different names for Heru or Horus. And then you realize that this stuff was not far from the translation of what they originally got it from. And then you get the book, Gary Greenberg's book, 101 Myths of the Bible by Gary Greenberg, where they actually show the papyrus where Samson and Delilah came from. It was Raheru Kahudi or Raha Kiwit, Raha Kidi, and this other goddess and stuff like that. So they show each where these particular Bible myths or Old Testament myths come from. You see, so that means we can't be sectarian now in saying, well, I'm only going to study only Kemet. Well, I'm only going to study only this. I'm only going to study only Yoruba. We are separated from the world of that being a complete system by 2,000-3,000 years. So that means in order for you to get it, you got to get it from everywhere. So the guy Ahmed Osman, when he drafted the book Akhenaten and Moses, one and the same, it's now called Moses, Pharaoh of Egypt. Ahmed Osman, what he didn't get from the Book of the Dead, or what he didn't get from papyruses, he got from the Bible, and what he didn't get from the Bible, he got from the Quran. And this is the way they do research. Because even though some of the stuff might be translated and distorted, there's things that's always left behind. You see, always left behind. I don't know where I was going with this, but anyway, so I'm going to show some prophecies in, we'll get some sister to come up and read it, in Deuteronomy. And we'll show where these prophecies came from. They came from the perfect sermons of Asclepius. Under Asclepius, the perfect sermon, which is Tahuti giving the prophecy to Imhotep. And so that whole Asclepius thing, which will give you the bibliographies that you can find those, is a reenactment in Deuteronomy, same shit. And when we was I did a lecture in Baltimore right before Christmas, and the sister who was a Choctaw elder, which is like a Native American sect, she started reading it, and the chills was coming because what they was talking about we going through now. By like endless amounts of pain and suffering. It's just like when you look up one day and say, man, I made it. You see what I'm saying? Next day you lose your job. It's just over and over, endless amount of pain and suffering. And so this is what the people who fake their lives on when we talk about these European Jews. Whereas they chronicle these particular aspects of pain and suffering and try to make like they were the people pain and suffering, but yet they're the richest people on the planet. And like true to nature, our thing don't change. You can go get W.E.B. Du Bois books from the early 1900s and what he was writing on, and we going through the same damn thing. You can hear Malcolm, you can hear Martin, you can hear speeches from the 1960s, and you were like, is this 1964 or is this 2004 or 2007? It's the same. Our suffering is unending. But remember, at this particular time, when it seems the most dismal and bleak, that is because if our situation seemed to be a lot better, they would be killing us in mass right now. So sometimes our plight is a decoy. People go, we don't see nothing in value, in virtue, with these people. We got all their black leaders. They're doing nothing but trying to put forth our agenda. You look at these people like Jesse and Al Sharpton or any of these type of Negroes, and you go, do you think when you get on this TV and you're discussing stuff from in front of white people, do you think that one iota of what you're saying could be an agenda that is not created by the white man? You just think about it. Where are your original thoughts? You see what I'm saying? That's why we going to dedicate this lecture to James Brown. Because here's a man that thought his original thoughts. And as a result, we got the genius of that. You see. You see, but when you think about it, so when they look and they see these black leaders, and the black leaders are sitting up there because they're inferior. They feel that they can say the right thing in front of the white man can consider them as an option to take the world stage. And the white man is saying, look, I got all your ancient philosophy and all your ancient knowledge. I know what you're supposed to be thinking on. I know what you're capable of. And it's not being in the arena with me, because my arena is fraudulent. You see what I'm saying? So anybody that's, anybody that's on that arena, they're already saying, look, you a punk. You see, there ain't no virtue in there. I want something different. But then again, on the other hand, why are we even considering white folks? You understand what I'm saying? So in so many words, but I say that to say, they look at the leaders and they have come to the conclusion with their arrogance. They're infallible now. That, look, there's nothing, we must mobilize and neutralize the rise of a black messiah. And they was concerned, you see what I'm saying? And they track us through our music. Every year they could tell the music is getting very advanced. And then thus we know that their consciousness will meet this music at a certain level. So what they did in the 1990s, they all but destroyed it. Have you heard this new rap from the South? What is this? I mean, have you heard this thing? I mean, the new rap from the South makes something that was 15 years ago sound like Mozart. You see what I'm saying? But it's showing you the complete deterioration and how the government fostered that program. Whereas you can't get nothing out of it that will spawn any kind, you see what I'm saying, of genius thought. You see what I'm saying? But that's all a part of the decoy. Because when they put us in a hole, they put themselves in a hole too. So the point I'm trying to make here is they have discovered, and see, because they will never really truly get to the truth. But they in their minds think that, look, we have them. We know what they're capable of, and they're not producing it, so therefore we worried about the Mexicans. They have left us alone in that particular aspect, although they still keep status quo that somebody got to be on the bottom. You see what I'm saying? But that is divine, because it means now the stage is set for the rising. You see what I'm saying? And every summer it gets hotter and hotter than the last summer. You see what I'm saying? That is us rising. We're going ahead of ourselves. We're going to get into that. Did the brother bring the Hennessy? He ain't got here yet. You said you want to drink? But I said, wait a minute now, hold on. Just by luck, if I'm calculating right, nigga might be late. I took care of that shit before we... I said, something. That's like our Good Morning America that comes on at 12. You see. Niggas is like ink pens. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. So, we're going to pour this to the gods and get right with it. Because we got a lot of information. I'm going to repeat some stuff I said last night, but we're going to go into, and I got a lot of great presentations, some things that I'm going to go into. You can always recorrect history. Now, I just lost my mother in on July the 20th. Ironic that back in 1994, one of the seers, sister named Tarsili, I asked her what was, I got my mother's spiritual name and who she was, and so she said, Mentep Sing Sing. So I went down to South Carolina and said, you Mentep Sing Sing. And my mama said, Mentep Sing Sing, that shit sound Asian. And lo and behold, I want to show you something. This is a picture of my mother in her 20s, either right after college or doing college. Does that look like Mentep Sing Sing to you? Does that look Asian to you? This is one of her, maybe 15 years ago. She had all kind of chameleon type looks. This is one of her about 15 years ago. And so you can see a little of me in her. It's divided between me and my two other brothers. But, you see, this one looks Asian. So when the sister said Mentep Sing Sing, you see, now that's what I'm trying to tell you, that in our DNA, we got all of it in us, and that's why you can't be stuck on one continent. Exactly. The night she died, a sister came by with a statue. A sister named Juliet and Bob came by with a statue of this goddess, and I had about 4 or 5 statues, but they found this actual statue this is the goddess Kuan Yin. And this particular goddess, when they came with that statue, it was actually a form of my mother. This was about 30 minutes before she made the transition. She made her appearance. Then the bats came and flew around the house. And then after that, my brother called and said, Mom's missing. The house is on fire. And basically, and to put a long story short, and I talked about this last night, they couldn't find out what happened. They didn't know how the fire started or whatever. But in so many words, that Monday when the fire chief came and said, look, we got the autopsy back from Charleston, South Carolina, and they don't know. That's when the green flag showed up. And I said, wait a minute, hold on, because the night she died, I got in touch with her, and she was like, look, it's important for you to find out how I died. And I'm like, well, it was a fire. She said, no, you got to understand, because that's going to be a key. And then I realized when the fire marshal, I said, oh, spontaneous human combustion. But hers was so powerful till she took the damn near the house with her. So she ascended. So she didn't die. Basically, it was her time to ascend. It was a goddess that was waiting inside of her, like a Kuan Yin energy, because she was also the goddess Tara. We're going to be dealing with her. Very powerful entity that you need to adorn yourself with. I have these pictures of the Kuan Yins and the Taras. You might want to get them. And we're going to go into this particular Tara information. I have a tape that I left behind with that I did 4 days before my mother's transition on the goddess Tara. So the goddess Tara was one of the ones that was instrumental for her to go up, because I started feeding this goddess Tara this brandy for like a month. And at the end of that month, the goddess Tara, whatever it was, that energy exploded. It was time for my mother to leave. And she got the hell on up, so it was an ascension. You see what I'm saying? And I knew when I went inside the house, and all the house was intact, but the room where she was, there wasn't no floor. Wow. So wait a minute, because they settled off on the stove, but the stove was there and intact and everything. They have to do that just for the death certificate. But when it came to the floor, in the other room where she was, the whole floor was gone. So that meant that she basically ascended. So, but it's interesting here because this Kuan Yin, because Tara came from Tibet and she turns into Kuan Yin. This is the black goddess all over the world. There's a book, The Goddess is a Girl's Best Friend by, you don't need it, it's Laurie Sue Brockaway. Laurie Sue Brockaway, The Goddess is a Girl's Best Friend. It's very key that you get a hold of these bibliographies. Like I said, now we can't sit around now and not go out and get this particular information. It's provided for us. You see what I'm saying? So the best thing that I can do for you is to give you the source of material. You see what I'm saying? So there's that book, The Goddess is a Girl's Best Friend. It has a whole section on Tara, whole section on Kuan Yin. You see what I'm saying? Excellent book. But she made her transition, and then I said, dang, Kuan Yin, okay, I see what that line of the Menteb Sing aspect was. Now, we have all types of things, because she was part Seminole Indian. You could even say, well, that could be some Native American, too. See, if it's amazing that you can see all these things. You see what I'm saying? But it means that we are more than just West African. Right. We are everything on the planet, and especially the ones in the Western Hemisphere, and especially the ones in America. We are all of that. Now the History Channel proved last year that the Moors was over here just through white people ancestry, where they got a group of white people, they said it had African American in them, Arabic, some type of Moor, and Northern European. Anyway, it was some sons and daughters of the Moors. They call them the Melungeons. So they got this stuff, and they said Elvis Presley was one, Ava Gardner was one, Abraham Lincoln. Same stuff that J.A. Rogers was saying years ago. They came right on the TV, but they'll put it on a show called Strange Universe. So that's to throw you off. It's called Weird. The show is called Weird USA or Weird US. So that's to throw you off. That's to tell all the scholars, go here and get your information, or the people. But we'll put it on Weird US so it can put the rest of the country back to sleep. You see what I'm saying? You see, so Elvis Presley had some Negro in him too. How else was he able to perpetrate a fraud? You see what I'm saying? So they admit these things. So, but my point here is, well, you say, well, what does that have to do with us? It is still saying that there was this Moorish element, just like the Moors said, already in the United States. You understand what I'm saying? And they are now, the History Channel now, anytime they talk about Aztecs, and especially the Maya, they did 3 shows, and each show, they mentioned that the Maya was nothing but an offshoot of the Olmecs. You see, so wherever you go on this globe, we are. You see, we are. Now, apparently she's an advanced goddess, because this Menteb Sing thing, oh, she's an advanced goddess. She's been working some magic. She's been working some magic since she left. You see what I'm saying? So she done got up there and got busy. And I said, well, what you doing now? She said, well, I don't really identify. Her name was Glaciria. And like, what would my grandmama name you Glaciria? It's real mysterious. And then found out it was a name for Sirius. That was her name from 1935. You see, my grandmama had this little thing. She would, I don't know why they did that. She would, if she had a child born in 35, she would put the birthday back up 2 years. So we thought she was born in 1937. So I did the lecture in June and said she was 69. It would be 70 this January the 13th. But she was actually born in 1935. That made her 71. You see what I'm saying? Which is a very powerful number. You see what I'm saying? Very powerful number. And all like that. The point I'm trying to make here is, she got up there and got busy. She said, well, I no longer go by Glaciria. I'm like, so would it be good to call you Menteb Sing Sing? I said, well, if there would be a description of my energy, that would be sufficient. So what it is these people go on to do greater works. You see what I'm saying? So the last time I heard, I said, well, what you doing? She said, I'm sitting on a council of all these people. Now I remember, see, there's nothing lost. We can tap in, and we can tap into these particular worlds and retrieve information and get in touch with ancestors. You see what I'm saying? And get in touch with ancestors. So she said, I'm a part of a council now, and a part of a council and stuff. So it's just interesting how, my father died in Seattle, Washington in 1970, got hit in the head and thrown in the river by his friend, like an Osirian thing, and a conspiracy. in 1970, he died by water, and then she dies by fire. Oh, see, it's a lot of stuff. But my point here is what I'm saying here is not to say, well, are you this miraculous being that your parents, you know? What I'm trying to say here is, by you being conscious here, you all are part of those miraculous beings. And the reason why our people are in disarray out there, the dead folks, is they're being a decoy so you can function and raise up spiritually. So in order for you to be safe, you see what I'm saying? And that's questionable. It's threatened every day on whether we're safe. But in order for you to be safe, they had to have a group of people that go through all the hell so that you can learn this particular information and be the gods that you are, because the gods have nothing to do with a physical thing. It's based on a consciousness that will later on be a civilization. So try to understand this. Your consciousness, as you go closer and closer and develop into your consciousness, is going to be a whole spiritual terrain. It's going to be a whole ecological system. It's going to be a new paradigm and a new civilization that your consciousness will be the manifestation of that civilization. You see what I'm saying? They say it's like a mustard seed. You see. So you're saying, well, when is it coming? It's already there. It's developing. It's this kingdom of light. But have you ever heard of knowledge being called light?
Right.
So we're talking about an illumination and a civilization of light that's developing in your minds. So while this civilization for a couple of thousand people in the United States and world total, that's almost 0 point something of consciousness. When you're saying maximum just a few thousand people the entire globe. You see what I'm saying? That while you are developing and going towards this new evolution of a civilization, they got all our people out there going through all the hell to be the decoy. You don't understand. You say, well, our brothers and sisters dying. They're supposed to be dying. You don't get the apparatus. If a person is walking around and don't know who they are, that's like a car without an owner's manual. That's like a computer without an owner's manual. So therefore, put them on the front line to die. You got to start thinking on a higher level than emotion. Because they're not truly dying. Each person, each particle of light, which is the soul, that raises up from those dead bodies, is the energy that also goes to manifest that civilization, that new world of coming. Beautiful. So death is good. Everybody want to go to heaven, nobody want to die. You got to understand, there's particles of light, and by the millions that's dying on the continent, the Caribbean, and all world total in the streets of America, and from all the disease they're giving you when you go in the hospital, or when they convince you you sick, all of that, when they die, those particular people from whatever case, those energies actually form the kingdom. That's some amazing shit. You see what I'm saying? When we talk about on a whole nother level, we got to start thinking on a whole nother level than our environment. Damn the environment. Oh, they done killed a bunch of niggas. Well, fuck it. With a hand? What? Like this is some new shit. See what I'm saying? They're dying because they're supposed to die. So you can get what you're doing because you are the priest and the priestess. And that's what's going on. Your consciousness, you see what I'm saying, is being held up with the people out here that's blocking for you like the decoy, keeping the government off of you. And they can't find us because we invisible. We are invisible. And you're invisible based on your consciousness. You see. So it's like a pyramid. The ones up at the top are being supported by the ones at the bottom. And the ones at the bottom are supposed to go what they're supposed to do, because that's the only way that they can fortify themselves is to leave that wretched body. Some of these niggas up here and stuff, they ain't got nothing in their mind. Death is the greatest situation. You know what's amazing? When a dead person got more knowledge, that a person walking around, because it's simple. This is death and that's life. Those people are now living. You see what I'm saying? So this, you know, this, we'll start the lecture sooner or later, but right now, we get energy a certain way. So we're going to pour this in, we're going to dedicate, and already, I'm going ahead of myself, but, and I should have known, because and I go back into this James Brown thing. We're dedicating this to James Brown, but right now, let me show you this. I'm going to dedicate this to him, but I'm going to show you this, because this person and this person is one and the same. Whoa. This is the god Hemmitt. He's celebrated all over the eastern part of the globe. Well, when you say Asia, from India to Asia, they celebrate the Monkey King. But we got problems with monkeys because we've been called monkeys. But nevertheless, this is who James Brown actually was. I'm going ahead of myself. We're going to have to get into this particular science because I done called James Brown a monkey. So we're going to have some explaining to do. But we're talking about symbology. This is actually the god, this is actually the Egyptian god Tahuti is who this is. Wow. Thoth or Tahuti. The Egyptian god Tahuti, Thoth, or what you get the word, the Greek word is Thoth, where you get the word thought from. Tahuti. So the East Indian form of Tahuti is Hanuman. You see, so it's not necessarily, he was a genius. And I'm glad I said it on my tapes years ago, that this man was a genius. I'm going ahead of myself. We're going to dedicate this to him based on a certain amount of energy. Now, this is not just, this, well, how the hell is that going to help me? Because his energy was the embodiment of Tahuti or Hanuman, you can tap into that energy by invoking him through his music. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to give a shout out first to Hanuman, and then we're going to go into this as we get into the lecture. All right. Hanuman. I say Lakshmi. I say Vishnu. I say Shiva. I say Tahuti. I say Seshet. We're also going to dedicate this to the goddess Seshet, who is the wife of Tahuti and also is a form of Mayat. These things are interchangeable. So the goddess Seshet, who is she who is in the foremost in the house of books. To show you how the energy go, she showed up at this melanin conference back in September in Detroit. And some sister in the audience asked this question about Seshet. And I said, you know, I've been doing this for 15 years older. Oh, so he did bring the Hennessy.
He came.
Okay, but really, okay.
I say, y'all.
Okay, right on time. All right. Well, he showed up right time for the damn libation. We're going to do this too for them. That's for the females.
I say.
You know, they like a little more smoother stuff. I'm going to take a little sip, my damn self. Libate myself. You see what I'm saying? Every day I get some Remy Martin. VSOP. All right. But anyway, she showed up. A sister asked a question, and I said, wait a minute. This is the first time in 15 years. I said, my first lecture, I talked about the God of wisdom, which is Tahuti. Let me get the picture of Tahuti. The God of wisdom, who is Tahuti, Thoth or Tahuti, and I said, but it was said that Tahuti is the God of wisdom, but it is Seshet that sits beside him and whispers the knowledge in his ear. Now this is interesting about that because, lo and behold, my mother was an avid reader and And not only that, come to find out that part of her energy was a Seshet energy also. So we're going to dedicate this also to the goddess Seshet when we get into some stuff. So Seshet, Ashe, Aset, Ashe, Heru, Ashe, Heru Kahudi, Ashe, Hamaku, Hamakis, Ashe, Des, Ashe, Buddhist, Dindu, Ashe, Heru, Ashe, Maya, Ashe, Metatron, Ashe, Metronet, Ashe, Sekmet, Ashe, Shashet, Ashe, Selket, Ashe, Kanununu, Ashe, Newt, Ashe, Hattie, Ashe, Epic, Ashe, Tiger, Ashe, Set Newt, Ashe, Sudness, Ashe, Shiva, Pavani, Kali, Kalima, Shapur Sunday, Alita, Marni, I say Tara, I say Kalametra, I say Erzuli, I say Aguayi, I say Olakun, I say Bim, I say Lasarin, I say Dambalawedo, I say Otincha, I say Tiacha, I say Sheola, I say Shumala, I say Omagumu, I say Alcala, I say Lokeo, I say Kakambo, I say Lavado, I say Luigi, I say Atma, I say Ottawa, I say Poa, I say Gadugo, I say Biwasta, I say Amuge, I say Amati, I say Ama, I say Nomo, I say Yuguru, I say Kuntu, I say Jakarta Stage, I say Ishtar, I say Astarte, I say Aphrodite, I say Perseus, I say Medea, I say Apollo, I say Hercules, all black. Artemis, I say Diana, I say Minerva, I say Athena, I say Tammuz, I say Baphomet, I say Sudan, I say Bess, I say Pan, I say Pan-Heru, I say Neptune, I say Nibiru, I say Neb-Heru, I say Netters, I say Nephers, I say Dionysus, I say Bacchus, I say Hades, I say Underworld, I say Kalipos, I say Shekinah, I say Shekinah, I say Lord Shekinah, I say Lilith, I say Layla, I say Lilith, I say Amru, I say Setesh, I say Arseti, I say. So we're gonna give them this stuff. We're going to give a shout out to, like I said, James Brown in his way. I say Jimi Hendrix, Marvin Gaye, Gerald Levert, excellent one. Luther Vandross, very right. All these muses. We're going to give a shout out to them also. Ashe, Treyanka Pudiyanka, Ashe, Bass, Ashe, Bass, Ashe. And we're going to give a shout out to that and go on into this particular lecture. In March of last year, right after I left, the internet started showing these on the internet. And this is a double spiral DNA in our galaxy. So there's a DNA spiral. This is the last couple of shots from the Hubble telescope. This is a DNA spiral right in the middle of our galaxy, and it's hovering over a black hole. The reason why they have to put us in such horrid conditions in our behavior, black people, man, they'll have some new shit every day on the news. But it is because this out in space is registering our DNA. Yes. So our DNA out in space is being, in our bodies, as it matures, because this is what this stuff is about. Our DNA coming online. Yes. As our DNA matures, it's now showing in the cosmos to give you an indication on how far we are genetically to take the new stage of evolution. They say man is in the junior high school stage of evolution. So all of creation, we were at the junior high school stage. You see what I'm saying? Now we go into the high school and college stage. So in so many words, it said our evolutionary process, all of Earth history, was in the junior high school stage, and this is what the Egyptians, the Vedics, the people around the world was preparing for us to take the next stage in humanity. That's called the Tikkun in Kabbalah, in the Kabbalistic system. The Tikkun. The guy Gershom Scholem, Kabbalah, on Kabbalah, his book is on Kabbalah and its symbolism. They talk about the Tikkun. They talk about the Tikkun, which is the next stage. The Tikkun is the Kabbalistic version of Mayat. So Mayat, you see, they have several levels. So you know, most we learn from Mayat from historians. So righteous, so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. You know, the laws or whatever. That is the first level of something to behave as a behavioral system in the physical realm. But it has multi-levels. So one would be a behavior, one would be a discipline, you see what I'm saying? And then it would go into the genetic structure of the body. And Mayat would take on something else. It is the completion of a process. So it's Tikkun in the Kabbalistic system, you know, which is the Hebrew Kabbalah, which came from the Temple of Komombo, the Kabbalistic Komombo, and also the Temple of Dendera, the Kabbalah. So this was the Egyptian disciplines taken out, I guess by Akhenaten's people, or you know what I'm saying, and different various people who got the hell on up, or pre-dynastic people also. But so the Tikkun, we're talking about a process. So now we are down to talking about the DNA. That's where we are now in our stage of evolution. So that process of the Tikkun, or that Mayat, is the ultimate stage of the DNA. You see what I'm saying? So obviously we have to be very high into it for it to start registering in the cosmos. They found 12 more. They're only showing you one. But meanwhile, in order for this to go down, and they didn't line up to kill us, they said, well, we'll just lock down the country, making sure that they can't even go to Canada without a passport, Mexico or whatever. We'll lock down the country and contain them just in case. We don't think they're going to do nothing. We're just trying to be safe. Let's say if it's some other ethnic group in the United States that's going to jump off and be this new evolution. Well, ain't going to be nothing but the lineage from the original people. God damn it. But, you know, this is their mindset right now. They have a war to contend with. Right. So the Spirit said, man, we started that war for decoy. So when they think they're doing something and they're sinister moves, the spirit world is acting on our behalf. You know, nothing is going on that you might think is how horrific it is. The spirit world does certain things. They say, well, you might not understand it at this particular time, but this is for something that's going on down the way. You see what I'm saying? So, so this is how this thing goes down. You see, so the war is a great distraction. You see what I'm saying? And while that war is going on, you best believe our rising is happening. It's here. Spirit, I'm walking in Walmart. Spirit say, why the hell you think we took all them damn singers and comedians? They've been dying like flies. They say when the party get down, we got to call back the people who was a part of that energy, of the muse energy. We got to call them home so they can be the people to get down on the other side. I'm like, dang. You see, so we're talking about a bigger world, but we so caught up. And the white man knows it. As long as you're caught up in your present situation, and what you think is so important, you see, they're saying they will never see what the true thing is and where their DNA is going. So let's say, oh no, fuck that, man. I'm suffering out here. So let's say at best you got what you wanted, as whatever your desires are. Is that the best we can do is just some new form of materialism? You know what I'm saying? I just look at how this man has a control over us. I said, I'm sending you a videotape. Oh, I don't have a VCR. Okay, let me get the mentality here. I know you got a DVD player. I got 5, because you need 5 to place a lot of DVDs. But just 4 years ago, the majority of the shit was still video. So I'm trying to figure out, just 4 years ago, 98% of what was produced was video, and now you're telling me you don't have a VCR? What kind of control to tell you that something that was just 4 years ago is not a reality to you now? People say, you know, like, I don't have a turntable. I'm like, well, yeah, you did that too. The CDs came out, niggas got rid of their turntables. You see, now they're going to find out that the CD is inferior to an LP. But now your turntables is gone. And now to get a real good turntable, the professional techniques, it's $600. You see what I'm saying? You can get one on sale for like $4, or get a knockoff Gemini for like $3 something. But still, yeah, this was more than most of your systems was costing. But that's how advanced the technology was. That was Thomas Edison. It's $600 for the real top of the line techniques, $1,200. Shit, I got one for $200 a couple of months ago, and I was happy as hell. You know, thanks to crack cocaine or whatever, you know, niggas be pawning shit. They got Cash America's. It's a pawn shop all over Atlanta. Niggas be planning shit. So I got me a $1,200 for $200. You see what I'm saying? That's a $400 price cut. But I'm just trying to say here, we let these people give you this mentality of what is the now is what you got to have. You stuck in this materialism. And you've always had all the time. You don't need upgrades. You see what I'm saying? So my point here is, why not focus on something that is not tangible? You see what I'm saying? If this DNA suggested, this star cluster is suggesting that our DNA is a certain way, and they got the spirit world got a whole wall.